Hello everyone. Welcome to my Cherish Creek home in the little village of Van Cunit in the heart of Muskoka. It's so beautiful today. The sun's shining and it's just absolutely lovely out here. I thought you might enjoy a little bit of background as to where I live, and it kind of gives you a little hint of the kind of personality that I have, and a little bit of my home. We live in what was my family home and was built by my dad probably 70 years ago, with this amazing fireplace that we use all winter long and just love the whole warmth and atmosphere of it. And above the door, the lovely angel that welcomes us to Cherish Creek. I made that a number of years ago, and it just looks over our place and our home, and we enjoy it so much. So that's just a little brief glimpse of the door that we usually use going into Cherish Creek. I just want actually to continue this little journey with some of my gardens. Now the flowers aren't blooming. I'm a huge fan of hydrangea, and in the next couple of weeks or so they will be coming out, and I will enjoy the beauty of them, and then I dry them and keep them all winter long. So we'll look back down in my backyard a little bit and see the lovely green chairs and the umbrella, and just to give you a sense of distance of our little world here. Continuing on, we'll go a little further out and maybe go a little further this way, and maybe have a look at the front part of the house. You can see a little bit there, and eventually we're going to end up in my studio, which is just across the lane here, across Cherish Creek Lane. So it might get a little dark in here because we're shaded by a big old spruce tree that protects the front of our house. So if we go further along, you'll see a little glimpse of the front porch of our house. There we go. That's just a little brief glimpse. And out across the way we have our gardens, and I have a little bird cage gazebo, I call it, which has a little table and chairs and some stars hanging in it, and just a little touch of some of the things that I totally love. We have a lovely patio at the back, which we haven't exactly set up yet because it's a little bit early here in Muskoka to get our chairs and flowers and everything going at full tilt, but you can get a little indication of where we're headed. There, so we'll cross the lane again now in another minute or so. We'll have a little look at the Cherish Creek sign that welcomes people into our home, and move from there over to my studio. There it is, Cherish Creek. We love being called that, and our laneway that we live on, and some of my family live on this further along on the lane called Cherish Creek Lane. And moving right along, we'll go back under this nice shady tree. And you can see the studio coming up in the distance. And along the way you'll meet, I love roosters, and as you can see, this guy stands guard over our property. And you look right down there a little bit further, we have a circle garden and lots of cedar trees and many other shrubs, and mostly hydrangea bushes as well. And the rail fence is pretty unique to our place. And as we cross the laneway, we come to Cherish Creek Studio. And this was built many years ago, and was served as a cookhouse on the logging trails as my dad was in the lumber business and logging and cottage building and so on, and had a wonderful mill. And this was part of that whole scenario. And at some point, he brought it out here to the little village to be near the house and used it as a workshop. And when we came here and moved here, we decided to turn it into a little studio for my artwork. So I spend a lot of time out here. I don't always paint here because it would get pretty chilly in the winter, but I paint on the 3rd floor of my house in the attic. So there you can see down Cherish Creek Lane a little further, and we'll just step inside. Thanks for coming with me. So we enter this wonderful old door that I love so much, and see the flowers hanging by the door, and my little sign and my light, and just a peek inside. Here we are. It's so cozy in here, and I just love having people come in and visit me in here and have time to look at my paintings and just enjoy the whole atmosphere. So I'm just going to show you slowly around the room some of the paintings that are on display. Now, some of these paintings I painted for a show that was to be held at the Chapel Gallery in Bracebridge called Searching for the Light, and this is a little portrait of me that I used as my promotion, and my whole show was cancelled due to the COVID virus, and some of my paintings were put on display on Muskoka Arts and Crafts website, which was really, really nice of them. Eileen Freer, who posted them, she did a great job and showed quite a bit of my work, but they were on for a couple of months, and now they're finished. That is finished, and they've moved on to another artist. So this is a scene from just down the road from me here that I walk by every day on the beautiful Black River, and we'll just continue on and show you a little bit more of what the charm of this little studio, which I love so much. So moving along, I think I've told you, well, many of you know how much I love Quebec City, and we lived in Quebec for many years, and we just go back pretty much once every year, and we stay on the island Ile d'Orléans, a little island just outside of Quebec City that's so charming. And we were driving along to our place in St. Petronille, and I just saw these amazing cows standing there as though they were waiting for us to arrive. And I said to my husband, "Stop the car, there's a beautiful painting right there." So when I got home and had a little more time, I did a painting of that. So that gives you a little hint of what the Ile d'Orléans is like, and it's so lovely there, and just has a precious atmosphere. And we go into Quebec City, Rue St. Louis, that's a little hotel right in the old city. And continuing on, we have a little scene from, it's called The Duchess, and it's in the old Markham Village, which is south of us here, and my brother is a singer-songwriter, and he does open mics there, and I went along with them one night, and I loved it so much, and took some pictures and did a painting. So we'll just continue on. I'll go fairly slowly so you have a chance to look at some of the different pieces of work. And then here we have an old rocking horse, which I've had for many years, and I love the charm of it, and decided it belonged in my studio. And here I have my book, which I called The Winnie Stories, which I wrote and illustrated. It has 12 stories and 12 illustrations in a folk style of painting, primitive style, I guess you would say, but it's based on my growing up here in the village of Van Cunit in the 1950s. And my brothers and sisters, my whole family are mentioned in the book, and it's quite charming, the stories, and funny, and a little bit emotional sometimes for people who remember us all during those times. But I have them for sale, and I still have a few left, so I thought you might be interested in seeing them. I have all these paintings called the Winnie Story paintings. They're all hanging inside my house, and maybe someday I'll do a video of those, and you can see them as well. a little sheep painting. I'm so passionate about sheep. I love them, and I paint them as often as I can. I find a spot to put them into a painting. And then looking way up high to the rafters, you see a sign called Cherishables. I had for many years a little shop in my home, in the front room of my home, that I called Cherishables, and it was really fun. But I find I am doing so much artwork right now, and I love doing solo shows, and I've done a number of them in Winnipeg and Unionville and various other places. It gets hard to keep up with every avenue of what you love to do, so I've kind of selected to do more of that. And over here we have a couple of flower paintings, which if you see my work, I love flowers. I love landscapes too, but flowers are a real passion. Geraniums on my front porch, and down here is a poppy, and poppies, I don't think I've ever had an art show that didn't have poppies in it, so they're a popular item for sure. And here's, this painting is one that my son did. He's a really good portrait painter. His name is Matthew, and he has all kinds of great paintings of people that he knows, and someday I encourage him to just do his own show and get his work out there. He's a news guy, so he's so busy every day that he doesn't always take the time to think about his art, but he's really great at doing it. A little scene from Newfoundland, where we enjoy going there as well, and stayed in a little village called Portagrave, and that's one of the homes that was nearby. And of course some more flowers, which I have put here as just a bouquet of tulips that's on my dining room table. And my dining room has a French flavor, as a lot of my home does, because of our years of living in Quebec and how much we love the whole ambiance and the joie de vivre of Quebec. So there we go. On to the next ones. There's flowers from Muskoka, another scene from Newfoundland, more flowers, and right down here is a lovely little painting along the road between Van Cunit and Carnarvon, which is in Halliburton, and we drive by there in the fall, and the scenes are spectacular. This is the big old cook stove that was used when this building was a cookhouse, and the little family lived right here in the cookhouse, and they cooked their meals there, and the mom cooked for the men who would come in off the logging trails in the bitter cold winter, and they'd have a home-cooked meal, and they actually lived right here in this lovely little spot. It's so really tiny, you'd wonder how they managed to do that, but somehow they did. I have a little cafe table there and chairs that I love to sit in the afternoon and have a cup of cappuccino. I don't think that was there during the logging days, but we enjoy it the way it is right now. So then up here we have a little painting of geese on the run, and it makes me think of Willie Nelson's song On the Route again. And below that I've placed a little painting of sheep that I call Faith, Hope, and Love, and it's just a charming little fun painting to have done. So moving along, it's another landscape that we have of a big old pine tree here in the village, and those big old wonderful pines are getting fewer and farther between, because over the years they've been logged, and there's still incredibly big loads of logs go out of here every day, and you wonder how on earth they can ever find so many trees still to be cut down. And here we have two little churches in our village, St. David's Presbyterian and St. Stephen's Anglican, and they were both built in the late 1800s, and they brought a ray of light into our village, and that light remains to this day, because these churches are both still open and available to all of us to attend. And finishing along here a little further, we have a scene from the back roads. You have to take one of the logging trails, and you find spectacular scenes like this along the way. And we'll just drop down a little bit to a little farm scene, a pretty typical farm scene in our area, but it's a little further from here, about an hour away, near the little, it's in a little village called Warminster, near Aurelia. And the other scene is in British Columbia, where my daughter-in-law is from. And we were out there and just saw the beautiful sky over the Fraser River, and it just caught my attention. So I think that you'll see the hydrangea painting. I am so crazy about hydrangea. I grow them, I dry them, and I use them all winter long in my house. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video, and I'm just not pretending that I'm professional at it. I'm strictly an amateur videographer, but I just thought it would be fun to do something like this and just give you a feeling of what my little studio, Cherish Creek Studio, is like. So I hope you'll visit me online, and I hope someday you'll have a chance to visit me in real time. Thank you for watching. Bye.